Welcome aboard the Tabletop Express, everybody.
Boom. Howdy.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna wait. Get right into this,
I thought we'd start with a sing along. But yeah, hi. Welcome to tonight's Monday episode of Call Dash Aboard.
Yeah,
Featuring
thanks to everyone tuning in tonight whenever you join. It's a little bit different than our Wednesday night, I know, but summer is more challenging, I think
Summer's
it's fair to
here,
say.
and the time is right for co-oping in the
It is.
streets.
Well, we had to get our co-op time. For those who may have missed it, Anthony had a Board Game Dads reunion with his partner in crime from that channel, Eric, and they went over their favorite co-op games. So we saw a really great reaction to that video. So we also wanted to come back and share some more co-op games. And in the format that has been incredibly popular here, we're bringing back the list tonight as well, Ryan.
And
Right?
by the way, that is something we need to bring up. Hi, my name is Ryan.
Oh yes, that's who you are. I'm
Yeah.
Chris. You know.
And we tonight are your co-conductors on the Tabletop Express. And I got over here top 10 board part 2.
There it is.
Yeah.
So it's important to note throughout the night, if you call in using call-board.com, you will be able to share a game with us or two that you may have enjoyed that's a co-op. And if it's on the list, we'll also bring it up.
Yep.
In the chat, highly also going to encourage people to make some predictions. And we will certainly take a look at those predictions. And if we see something as we go through the chat, we'll also bring it up from there. So a lot of good stuff ahead on co-op games. But I have to ask you something. Important question.
What's that?
We do this from time to time with these lists.
How we made the list?
Yes. How'd you make the list? What was your kind of definition? Were things you didn't include just because, people think about these things slightly differently sometimes?
They do. I do as well too. So hang on. Where was it? There it is. Okay. Making sure I have my list. I have my list here. So how I made my list. I did a couple of things. One, I'm a big solo board gamer. Any cooperative board game I play, primarily solo, will not be included in this. Not that I play it primarily solo, it's that I'd rather play it solo than any other player count. So it needs to be at least 2 players. And every game I put on here also is a full cooperative experience, no semi-co-op, no hidden trader kind of thing.
Yeah.
About you?
I fell under the same. So my list does not include anything that was semi-cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
When I built my list for consideration, I did acknowledge that if a game had a very distinct and well done mode that was at best co-op, so say it was a game that had a co-op and a competitive mode, but its competitive mode was the core way that I would play it, similar to your solo justification, I would have considered it.
Okay.
I think, I think that was kind of the biggest piece. Ultimately, for me, I was looking at truly a co-op experience, and the semi co-ops. Like, I love a Battlestar Galactica. I love these other things where yes, I'm working together with people, but that's not a full-on co-op. It just does not fit the description for this. So you're not going to see something like that, or even a Shadows of Camelot. I'll say, because you have potential hidden trader. So
I think there's always a hidden trader. Is there not?
there,
Or there
yeah,
could be a case where there could be an edge case.
Yeah, I mean, but it's even just to the point, because we've talked about Rear Window recently. Rear Window, the fact that there could be, like, I excluded Rear Window.
That one actually had it as an exception, but it didn't make my list.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it would make the top 10. I'm just saying, because of the little murder token that could make it not a co-op game and you didn't know, that not knowing part is what I removed. Mind you, I know you could play that game and say we're not going to play with it, but point stands. Yeah. I was there was still plenty of games in consideration for my list, though. There's a
So
lot.
then, before we jump into our top 10, what's your honorable mention? What's the one that you want to talk about, sing its praises, that's not on this list?
Yeah, so the one I want to talk about actually, yeah, because I was between two for my honorable mention, but I want to talk about one that just didn't make the cut, but I have a lot of great feelings about. And I know it's not for everyone because it's a very real time game with no talking, and that's
Yeah,
Magic Maze.
I'll pull that up.
I remember finding Magic Maze, and there was something special about this. I thought even for it was just a game that was a lot of fun
Oh,
to
I'm gonna
play.
sign out so you don't see my rating
That's fair.
because it wasn't
Uh,
for me.
no, and I don't think it's for everyone. It's very real time. The not talking part is challenging, but I really enjoyed this one. I have the expansion to it. It was just one that I wanted to mention because even though it didn't make my list, when I was first discovered this one, I don't know, I just really there was something I really liked about it. It was silly. Um, in the long run, it wasn't top 10 for me, obviously, as I'm not putting it in my top 10, but it was one that I really took to, and it was one of the earliest co-op games that I had a great time with because I didn't always like the co-op world.
Well, you can't
Um,
talk, which is why I'm surprised you picked it because you're quite a talker.
yeah,
You can't talk in Magic Maze.
I know, but you could pick up the little thing, the
What
large
was it?
people,
Yeah. To
and
like
you can like
where?
pound it. Hilarious moments come from this game for
Yeah.
me, so that's probably what it was for me. But yeah, no, I like this one a lot. Still in my collection, hasn't left.
The one
So
that didn't make my list that I was debating should have. I just uploaded dividers for it on Board Game Geek. And that is G.I. Joe, the deck building game. Did
I'm
not make my
surprised.
list.
I'm
Very
surprised at
close.
this.
Very,
Yeah,
very close. Cooperative deck builder. I don't really care about the IP at all. My love for G.I. Joe comes from those obnoxious PSAs that were pretty funny, you know. But GI the deck building game is a cooperative game designed by TC Petty III, where you are trying to take out Cobra by putting out Joes on different vehicles and going pew pew pow 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 with them in card and dice form. But yeah, that was
yeah.
the one that didn't make it.
I probably would have had that closer on my list as well had I owned and played it more. But all my plays are with you because you've got everything. So
Mm-hmm.
all my plays of that game are with you. But I really did like it. I think that game is stellar,
Yeah.
and more people need to play that game. So
All right. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All
Ready.
right. So I'll just jump into my number 10.
Do it.
My number 10, when you talk about co-op board games, you have to talk about Pandemic. Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is my number 10. I have not finished Pandemic Legacy Season 1. I made it up to September, and then the group I was playing with fizzled out. But I'm open to retrying it again at some point. It was the second Legacy game ever. So this was a co-design between Matt Leacock and Rob Davio. And this particular game was like I played Risk Legacy first and then Pandemic
Mhm.
Legacy. Pandemic Legacy was like what a legacy game. Phenomenal. You get to just level up your characters and do all sorts of stuff. And I don't want to give spoilers for anything, but you should play this game if you haven't. It's a real treat.
So the only reason this pandemic is not on my list is that exact reason you noted. It's something I need to correct. I think I've talked to you about maybe I'll be that next one of those next people you play with this just because I haven't done it. I haven't done any of the pandemic legacies. And I like, don't get me wrong, I like base pandemic. It's fine. I think other games have surpassed it since in a lot of ways. But the legacy game, I have heard everything, and Pandemic Legacy Season 0 has caught my attention as well. So between those two, because I haven't played them, which sounds like blasphemy to someone, I'm sure. When it comes down to it, it's not on my list for that reason. I am fully confident that had I played it, there would be a very good chance it was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But to this point, haven't played it, so can't put it there. But I want to. So mark me down as interested is, I guess, the best way I can put it.
All right.
And the Pandemic Legacy system, by the way, definitely has inspiration with things on my list. I will say that. There's definitely some, not inspiration, but there's definitely some of that style to it to some extent.
Is it your number 10?
No, not per
Oh.
se. But I would say my number 10 is about survival. And you survive in, the toughest of circumstances. And usually no.
We're there
Usually,
already.
Yeah. Usually you can't survive. It's Robinson Crusoe.
Adventures on the Cursed Island.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This is lower on my list, probably because it's hard. I do like this with a small group. I do enjoy it. But it's hard to get it to the table to the point that it's nearly impossible for me to get it to the table sometimes. I believe you've mentioned playing this solo.
And that's why it's not on my list.
Which I assumed.
But I prefer this one solo.
I was not a solo gamer, right? And until more recent years, I didn't do a lot of solo. So that wasn't my experience. I like it as a co-op game. You just need someone who can deal with the fact that you're probably going to lose. Now, the new stuff that came, obviously there's a book that has
Book of Adventures.
Ones. Yeah, the Book of Adventures, which is really well done. I think they did a nice job with it, but maybe stuff is easier. But to that point, this one's tough. I do think it's deserving to be on the list. It's lowest probably because of what I just said, though, which is it's just hard for me to get this to the table. There's a ton of components too. Like there's in that box. And I didn't get into too much with the big box of just how quickly that changed setup, if at all. Probably there's still a lot to set up regardless.
We could find out.
So, yeah, we could find out. That would be a fun stream. I will say that would be a fun stream to do. But for me, Robinson Crusoe, it just barely makes the top 10 for me. And that's at number 10. So Robinson Crusoe, number 10.
Yeah, I like this game a lot. I agree that I'd like to play it at a lower player count. Obviously, solo I think is the best for this one. But 2 players also pretty solid.
I like it a 2-player a lot, and that's where most of my plays of this have ever come from.
Yeah,
I might have done 3 players once, but 2 players has been solid, and you didn't have a lot of downtime. Plus, I knew the people had the thick skin for the fact that we were probably going to lose.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever actually won a game, to be honest.
You should play some of the different scenarios. You probably only done the first one, right?
But I was inexperienced when I did the first one, and then I think I tried one of the other ones. But yeah, I probably could do it now. But when it comes down to it, I like it. I like the game a lot. It's my number 10.
All right. So I talked about you can't talk about a co-op list without Pandemic, but I'll tell you this: Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is not my only Pandemic on the list. My second and final Pandemic on this list is my number 9 pick, which is my favorite Pandemic, which is currently known as Iberia, but when I own it, it's Pandemic Iberia.
Is it just called Iberia now?
Now it's just called Iberia, but
okay.
Before it was originally called Pandemic Iberia, and it was like a limited run, and then it was so successful they decided to bring it back, but drop the Pandemic. So now it's Iberia, a game in the Pandemic series or whatever. But this game is exactly that, right? It is a Pandemic game with extra stuff. So this is set on the Iberian Peninsula. So you got Spain, you got Portugal, and very straightforward things. You're just trying to find the cure for these particular diseases. However, some additional things you can do in this game. There's no traveling by plane, right? Because this is, I believe, actually, I don't even know what year this is supposed to be. Don't know what year it's supposed to be. Before planes, for sure. However, you can use trains. And what's really cool about that is one of your actions on your turn is you can just drop down a rail between cities, and you could travel all with one motion as many rails as you want.
Oh,
It's
nice.
pretty neat. There's also some interesting variants in there. There's one where uh, the actual cubes will move across the board if hospitals get overrun. It's a wild thing. I haven't tried that yet, but it seems pretty wild.
This one sounds interesting. So does the Star Wars Clone Wars one. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
two that have grabbed my attention in the past. This one I'd heard about. I have not heard the gameplay described, but that does sound a lot more interesting than just base Pandemic, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I like that there's no eradication of diseases. There's a lot of limitations, and I feel like a lot of limitations are due to like the time period. So you really just need to do what you can, and you are hindered, but you're also could try to figure out ways around that hindrance. Like I said, the rails is huge in this game.
Yeah. No, it's
And
interesting. I
we're
like
the
the idea of
Tabletop Express. We like trains.
yes, yes, we do. Yeah, that one sounds interesting because again, I'm learning a lot of these games that stemmed out of pandemic and are in that pandemic world that have these slightly different themes continue to evolve and be a little bit more interesting. And again, I think it's Brian Chandler on Discord and even here having called in has talked about the Star Wars, which is really good. So I need to that
I believe it
I'd
made
like to
Eric's
try.
list too. His top 10 cooperative games, the Pandemic Clone
Oh
Wars.
yeah, I
So,
believe so. So there you go. So that one has grabbed my attention name wise
yeah.
in the pandemic world.
And that was
I'm going to say right now,
Iberia. What?
I'm going
You
to
want
say
to play
right
right
now,
now?
I don't have pandemic on the list because I think the base game itself has been surpassed by other games for me, but these other ones you're describing sound interesting enough that they would be worth a play in my book.
Oh yeah, don't knock Pandemic. Pandemic
I'm
is
not. No, it's not a knock.
uh,
Base Pandemic, I think, is a critical game.
yeah, for sure.
Critical game.
It definitely changed the hobby.
Games exist because of that.
Agreed.
That there's not a question in my mind. So
Yeah.
no, not a knock. It's not on my list. That's all.
Yeah. I'll give you a
Personal
slight
one.
spoiler too. Pandemic came out, I believe, right in the late 2000s. Uh, However, there are cooperative games that came out before it, and there's one that's really old on my list.
What? Ooh, I
You'll
can't
get.
wait.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
A friendly reminder for anyone who does join in. If you're watching this after the facts, just drop in the comments some of your favorite co-op games. If you are joining us live, if you're part of our Discord, of course, you're able to call in at call-aboard.com. We use that just to verify, with any first-time callers. But of course, after that, you'll see some regulars here on the channel that call in almost every week. So,
Yep.
just part of a process that we run, but that's just call-aboard.com. Ryan, I'm going to go right to my number 9 in the meantime. My number 9 is a series of games that I thought was worth mentioning for my list. And that is that's Horrified as a whole,
Mm,
because Horrified as a whole for me, it's just an incredibly important series in my family. It's something that I've been able to get to the table. It's family friendly, but I found board gamers who are in the hobby will want to play this one. There's enough monsters to mix it up. I think I still like the OG one the best.
same.
I think I still like that. I played the Greek monsters as well, of course, but it's they've they've changed up at least, and I think they've started to realize, hey, we've got a good system here because they've connected Greek monsters to the next one that's coming out to add more
Um,
potential, replayability in that area. But I just like the series. It is simple enough to go play, teach. You can up the difficulty for anyone by adding more monsters. And ultimately, the reason I go back to the OG one is those classic monsters. It's fun.
they're the best.
Have the Frankenstein and his bride is a great one. I mean, you've got some really cool characters. This is also one that, and even though I have nothing much to show for it. This is also a game that inspired me to think to myself, hey, how can I work Supernatural into board games to try to come up with like my own like house made cards for other games, like get Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural into Unmatched or into a Horrified World. It's made me actually think about that to the point that I have ideas in a book.
Nice.
So it's inspired me a little bit of to that overall supernatural world. And by supernatural in this case, I mean monsters. So that's part of it. But I think this one is fantastic co-op. I think it's just easy to get to the table, a lot of variety and replayability, and ultimately pretty good production too. So for me, Horrified, easy to put on the list at number 9. And I definitely would play any of the games with anyone, but OG1 will still be my default, despite being 3 games in, with the 4th coming out. I guess I don't know when the release date.
Probably soon.
It's gotta be soon.
World of Monsters, I think it was
Yeah,
called.
I know Anthony will have it.
Yeah.
So we will find out, hopefully, with Anthony's copy, what that's just how good it is.
Yeah, with Horrified, I was very excited when this was coming out because I'm a huge fan of the classic Universal monsters. And to see that there was a solid board game for them, I was over the moon when I found out about this game was coming out. And I love the asymmetric bad guys, right?
Yep.
Because the Invisible Man, you're all about pick up and delivering stuff. For Frankenstein and the Bride, you're trying to reunite them together, right? And then you have the Mummy, right, which is like a little like jigsaw puzzle kind of thing. I thought it was very well done. So,
Yeah.
and the creature Black Lagoon only travels by water, which is great. So,
No, overall, again, they so often we talk about asymmetric powers, right? But to have the monsters and the way you defeat them be asymmetric, to me was a very good decision. So I'm
plus you have
glad
to
you did.
protect villagers, and the
Oh yeah,
villagers are all side characters in all these movies. And the best ones, of course, they have Bud and Chick, Abbott and Costello as a villager. Come on, you got it. What's
yeah,
so good?
yeah. No, again, I just think well designed. I
The
even have a
OG
beanie.
cinematic universe.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I even have a beanie from Horrified now. I got a beanie that says Horrified because, of
there
course,
you
I
go.
work. PAX Unplugged. Thank you for that.
All right, my number 8. You knew this was going to be on the list, Barrows. You knew this one was going to be on the list when we said top 10 cooperative board games. We were saying, how is Ryan going to pitch this game? Well, actually, you probably know, which is this cooperative board game is so good, and you already own it because it is Regicide.
Not
It's a
surprised.
game that uses a standard deck of cards, but this is actually the Regicide official deck, published by Badgers from Mars, designed by Paul Abrams, Luke Badger, Andy Richdale, art by Sketch Goblin. Uh, in this game, you are trying to take out the Royal Evil family. I don't really know if there's much of a lore within Regicide. There probably is a lore, because all the cards have different characters that are individually drawn out, like so it's really funny. However, when you're up against one of these jacks, queens, or kings, um, they are going to be attacking you and have a health point value. You're trying to knock them out before you run out of cards. Basically, if you run out of cards in your hand and need to lose more, you lose the game. Everyone loses the game because you just died. Those represent your health points.
Yep.
Um, all the different suits in a deck of cards have different special abilities. The diamonds give you cards, give all players cards, so that's how you draw cards. The hearts allow you to take cards from your discard pile and add them to your draw deck, because when your draw deck is depleted, you don't shuffle your discard. You have to actually heal your draw deck. The spades are shields, and they reduce the amount of attack value that's done by the baddie. And then the clubs do double damage because they're heavy clubs. Um, and whenever you're up against a jack, queen, or king of that particular suit, that particular suit that they represent, that power is negated, and it can get really dicey when you got very
This
little
one
to no
is not
cards.
easy.
It is
It,
not easy. It's very hard. It's very easy to lose in Regicide, but so easy to teach. Fantastic game. Plays to 1 to 4. And like I said, you likely already own it if you have a deck of cards. So go out and try it before you even buy it. And I think you should buy it because you should support this small publisher.
yeah, I enjoyed playing this game. I played with the deck of cards before. We played it with first. We didn't we do it with the
The
musician?
musicians deck. Yeah,
We did it with the music.
I have a deck of musicians and it's all different musicians and the suits are different types of music. So there's like a rock one, there's a pop one, I think country, and then blues. Yeah.
Yeah,
So and then yeah, so and of course like the higher the card, the more I guess successful or representative is the musician. So my favorite musician is the Jack of Diamonds, which is Pop, which is Prince, is the Jack of Diamonds. So
right.
and of course, Michael Jackson is the king of pop, but whatever. I like the Prince card. Darn it. But anyways, Regicide, go play it. It's great.
Yeah, a good choice for sure, and again, one that everyone owns. You don't need to go purchase that one, so that's helpful. Uh, on my end, Ryan, by the way, I will note you taught me that one, so I knew when you said you already own it, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the one that I want to talk about is one that we first. I don't know if it might have been before you and I had been you had been on the channel. I can't remember if it was when I saw the loop and got excited about it, which by the way, the game is the loop.
Oh,
Or the loop.
the
I'm
loop.
assuming because it's the loop because it's all capitalization.
It could be
I can't
acronym.
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
cannot remember if it was at the PAX Unplugged with you or it was a previous one that I got excited because I saw this game. And this is it's a cooperative game that we're battling the evil Dr. Fawkes. We're temporal agents, okay? And there's 4 different game modes. There's a ton of replay value. Yep. I do too. And it's on the list, so obviously I do, but ultimately you are one of these legendary agents who is trying to save time. That in the middle on that one, all the way in the left, if you click on it, is a little tower that you're dropping the cubes into,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to kind of go across you're going to be able to rotate it and ideally have the stuff go where you're hoping for them to go cube wise. Now, what's interesting with this game, I talked about it earlier, that pandemic system. This has that going on in the sense of you are trying to stop and get rid of cubes in certain areas. You're trying to do that. You're trying to balance that with card play. They've got a lot of different things that you can do that. They're with these powerful artifacts. I mean, the expansion for this that I owned, which by the way was kind of a pain to get because right now this game, from my understanding, I don't know if it's completely out of. It's hard to find this one at the moment in terms of the expansions. At least I don't know about the base game, but it's a game that it moves fairly quick. And ultimately, I read more recently, even some, in terms of replayability, that someone was talking about just the fact that they changed up the game mode they were doing for a little bit, and that had added to their replayability and one reason why they liked the game. Because I was trying to figure out what was it that I really liked about this game all these years. What was it that had me keep going back to this for the past year and a half since I was able to get a hold of it? And it really is just a game with a ton of replayability. It does get a little silly. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say that it can be silly. It can be sometimes just you get some bad luck. So if you don't like that, no, it's not going to be for you. I think quirky is an accurate description for this game, but I really like it. I thought they did a good job kind of covering time travel, time and space with some really interesting characters. And ultimately, I do enjoy this game. And I agree with the sentiment that BGG has where it describes it as full of challenges and replay value. I think that is 100% accurate. So for me, the Loop is one that I've come to enjoy quite a bit, and yeah, it's a good time. I agree with Sky. I'm not surprised you played at a con because I think this is a game that if you see at a con, it will grab your attention because the board is definitely bright and has a lot going on when you're dropping in the cubes, and you're going to have these visceral reactions to it. So
I'll
I
have to
own,
try it out.
yeah, I own one of the 2 expansions. It does have a solo mode, by the way. I don't know that I've actually done the solo mode, but I do enjoy this game quite a bit.
It's sad news, Eddie, that has nothing to do with Loop and Louie. I'm sure it'd be
Well,
far superior had it.
Loop and Louie is not a cooperative game.
No, but this could have been the cooperative version.
Of
I don't know. I do want to try out the Loop though. It's time travel, right?
yeah,
It's time
it's
travel
all
stuff.
yeah. You're traveling. Your time. You're part of the agency, and you've got to stop the evil Dr. Fawkes.
It's like TVA.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. You could actually, with the expansion, you could go against his evil twin. Like, no, you can be his evil, not his evil twin. You can be like
Like a
his
past
clone or his
version.
twin, whatever it
Yeah.
is. So, yeah, it's a good
All
time.
right.
Highly recommend people check this out. I really do, and it is fun to drop the little cubes in the drop tower. Personally, I enjoy that one.
All right. Cool. That was the Loop at your number 8. So my number 7, I'm gonna click it because I have a mess up between my 7 and 8. So I don't know which one. And between, sorry, my 7 and 6. So I don't know which one's my one of two. I got a feeling though that this is a small box. Nope, it's a big box. It's a big
Wow.
lot of stuff. Okay, well my number 7 is Arkham Horror, the card game. Okay, Arkham Horror, the card game, is the living card game I have on my list, and it is a cooperative story card battling kind of thing where you're working together to uncover different clues at locations, which the locations are all cards. You're traveling on them. You're fighting bad guys, also cards, by using cards that are, you could use them as assets, like part of your equipment that you're holding, or you could, cast some spells. Depends on what you're actually doing. Everyone's got different skill levels based on what kind of things they do. So they got like fists, or they got books, or they got like psychic powers kind of deal, or foot for flight, and for running away or getting out of moving around and stuff. And it's all campaign driven. Like they're mostly all campaigns. So you're gonna do like the path to Carcosa, or the Dunwich Legacy, or the Night of the Zealots, and those are all several games that lead up, and depending on you win or lose, the campaign may be over or may just keep on going. You'll level up as you go along. There's also one-off missions as well too. So there's like there was one. Oh yeah, Murder at the Excelsior Hotel was pretty fun. So it's like in very like old-timey kind of hotel. It's got a lot of really cool horror vibes. I was never really into any of the Arkham horror games, maybe Eldritch Horror, but even then, that's pale in comparison compared to Arkham Horror, the card game. It's a phenomenal card game. I recommend finding someone nearby to play it before diving right into Arkham Horror, the card game, because there is a lot of Arkham Horror, the card game. So it could be an investment if you're really, really into it.
Yeah, because you have a lot.
I got them all, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, the one I don't have, I didn't buy the one-off, and I kick myself that I didn't because it's out of print now and people flip it like crazy. Is the standalone dog version called Barkham Horror, the card game, where you're playing as different dogs, investigators trying to take out the Cthulhu cats. So yeah, there's that too.
That's
I
something.
don't have that one. It's a thing. It was an April Fool's joke, and it was so successful they turned it into a real product.
There you go.
That was Arkham Horror, the card game, at my number 7. But I know people in the area that have that Barkham Horror if I want to play it.
So it's accessible.
Yeah. Accessible in the sense that I can access it, not
Yes.
accessible as in the accessibility sense.
Yes. Well, look, I think I'll jump over to my number 7. My number 7 is the co-op version of a game that came out for a game that was very much not co-op in
Mm,
any way possible. And it was a game, and people on the Discord will know it because it's the game that I said I'm only buying a few of these, and that's it. Then I'm stopping. I was buying them for the IP at the time.
mm,
And I went down the rabbit hole. I don't own them all. There's certain ones I'll never own for the exact reason that they're pain in the butt to get, and I'm not paying insane amount of money for it. But the Unmatched series has some great characters, and it came out with a way to play co-op, which is Unmatched Tales to Amaze.
there
And
it is.
when I talk about this game, it was one that I had a chance to play and bought almost immediately after. The co-op version of this game is pretty cool because in it you're working together with others to defeat one of two villains. It's either Mothman or the Martian invaders. Now each of them has a unique battlefield, which is another Battlefield 4 Unmatched as a series. But what I love is each villains also can be aided by a number of minions. The Jersey Devil, the Blob, the Loveland Frog, the Tarantula, the Skunk Ape, and I'm missing one.
Well,
I'm missing one. But
there's the aliens, right? Do you say the aliens?
well, the aliens are the main ones, but they've got
Yeah.
minions. So it's
Mm,
not that simple. And what you will appreciate is well, I will note by the way, it comes with Nikola Tesla
mhm.
and Annie Christmas, and then the Golden Bat, and then Dr. Jill Trent, but the Golden Bat was apparently the world's first superhero. So you got 4 heroes too.
Mm.
But now the cool thing with this is, which I think you will appreciate, is as you're playing this game, horror skunk. No, yeah, no, the skunk ape. There's the skunk. It's the ant queen. The ant queen. That's the other one. Sorry,
Mm.
it's gonna bug me if I didn't get that last minion. What I like about it is you don't know when anyone's gonna go. It does the turn order the same way a game of Beloved by You does it, aka Cosmic Frog. So you've got the deck
Mm.
of cards, so you don't know who's going to go.
Chip pull.
Yeah, so the card in this case, it's flipping over a card to figure out here's the number and or here's the person going. And yeah, so it becomes a very tight battle. The alien one in particular, that one I really enjoy because he's putting the little aliens down, and you've got to worry about taking them out. You got to take out the alien. I mean, because those aliens have an impact on the game. But I will say, check this one out if you like Unmatched and are looking for a co-op experience. I believe it had solo as well. I have not done it, but the co-op experience in this has been great. Really enjoy it, and like I said, I imagine we'll get more Tales to Amaze or some other additional co-op just from Unmatched because they're spitting out games as every few months anyways. So I welcome more of it and some more co-op experiences that
And
can,
you could use the heroes from the Unmatched series in
yeah,
this.
you can throw anyone into it.
That's
So
cool.
to fight so yeah, it's, it and again, those maps, that map that comes out, I mean, it is another map. If you really wanted to do a 4-player, you could do 4-player Unmatched. Because it's a larger map. I
Yeah.
prefer 2-player Unmatched. I generally play 2-player Unmatched. That's really the only way that I play it, but some people do more than that. So,
All
bigger
right.
map for those people.
So it's Unmatched Adventures, Tales to Amaze. I haven't tried this one yet. I personally am not a fan of the Unmatched series, but I haven't tried the Unmatched Adventures co-op. I would like to give that a shot at one point.
Yeah. You might like it.
Yeah.
You'll probably like it better than the Unmatched head-to-head system, I'm guessing. But like I said, fun. If you like the Unmatched system, you got to try this one.
Right. It's no
No question.
brainer. All right. My number 6 is now a small box game.
Now it is.
Totally is. And there was when it first came out, it was one of the earliest trick-taking games I played, and then they refined it even more next year with the Crew Mission Deep Sea.
Yes.
So the Crew Mission Deep Sea, designed by Thomas Singh, is a cooperative trick-taking game where the conditions of what you need as a group to win are determined by a deck of cards. And you go through an episodic kind of series where it'll walk you through how many cards you need based on the number of difficulty or a specific condition that you need to actually go through. And you can't tell anyone what's in your hand, but you need to do your best to work together to make sure whatever conditions a specific player has are met. And it's incredible. It's such a great game. I never got into trick taking games. I know a lot of people have early on in the hobby as a kid with like hearts or spades, right? Um, and the Crew Mission Deep Sea was phenomenal. I and Anthony, I'm glad you got to play the original Crew last week. Mission Deep Sea takes the original Crew
Yeah.
and puts it in a whole new level. Like they really refined it where it's not always an unwinnable condition at times because there are times where sometimes it just comes out and it's like, yeah, there's no way we can actually do this at all. It's a bit more there's a bit more refined deck to determine what you could actually uh, achieve. So
I remember talking to them at PAX Unplugged when
mm,
this one came out, and they were just talking about how, you know, they did get this fantastic reaction from the Crew. Um and they wanted to improve upon it. And so the added flexibility, there's more replayability in this version, they were telling me. And everything they told me, I said, okay, we'll see. You know, I optimistically uh, was hoping everything they said was true, and it really was, because I got to play around. I think I was at PAX Unplugged with them, and then went on to say, wow, I need to own this, and this is definitely better than the original. But I think it's great what they did with that original. It was
yeah, for sure.
one of the first. It was probably the first trick taker that my wife played, actually,
Mm,
because we tried Fox in the Forest, and she was so like, "This is stupid." I'm not that those weren't her words, but it just was doing nothing for her.
yeah.
Like, because she saw the title Fox in the Forest, and she told me, I thought this was going to be a cute little game. I don't want to use my brain. Um, and in the end, it turned out that the Crew we got just really into. Like,
Yeah.
you get engrossed in this game.
Oh, for
You
sure.
and when you don't get that mission done, it's like, okay, what can we do? How Let's try this again. And that's a good sign of a great game. I agree with you so much as that I should point out you need to go and click number 3 on my list.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Crossover.
Yeah, I think this game is phenomenal. I
Yeah.
think this game is. I don't often say that, you know, this game should be in most people's collections, but I feel like this one very well could be in a lot of people's collections. And if you're looking for a trick taker, uh, this is one of the best.
Yeah.
It just happens as cooperative. So this isn't a list about trick takers, but to me, this is one of the best. It evolved from the original, and if they came out with another one, I would completely trust that they evolved from this one somehow. That's how much faith I have in the work that they've done with this game. So
I would
yeah,
say it's also a good introduction to trick taking as well too. You know,
yeah,
you get a lot of the base rules of trick taking right out of the way, and the difficulty level is gradual. So
hmm
you know, and I feel like just because of how quick it is, how quick playing it is, people are enticed if they lose to just jump right in and play it again. You know?
yeah. Well, it doesn't take it does nothing. It doesn't. It never outstays its welcome. That's the
Yeah.
thing about this game. It never outstays its welcome. So yeah, I just say, if you have not played this one, if you haven't played this one, jump right into jump right into
Mission
this
Deep
one.
Sea. Yeah.
Yeah, just go deep sea because uh throw the theme out the window in your selection here. Don't do space just because it's space. Honestly, go this deep sea is just in the evolution of the game. It's better and it's well done, and that's saying a lot because I think the original was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's again my number 3 as well. So my number 3 to your number 6.
There you go. Cool. You want to jump into your number 6?
Yeah. So, by the way, if anyone does want to call in, call-board.com. Certainly would love to hear from anyone with their games. And feel free to drop your favorite co-op games in the comments as well. If we have any crossovers with our list, we'll certainly mention it. My number 6 is one I've mentioned before. It is a game I've really come to love. And over the years, I've talked about it a lot. And it's one that I think it could get more attention. But it gets plenty. It has plenty of love. It had a Kickstarter recently for a video game slash computer game, and that is Maximum Apocalypse by Rock Manor Games. This one is one of those roguelike adventures. You're dealing with the apocalypse and many type of apocalypse, by the way. The apocalypse cards scenarios in this, there's zombie, there's mutant stuff, there's aliens, there's vampires, there's robots, there's a bug apocalypse. Cthulhu is in here. There's a dinosaur pack with the later adventures. They add these night with the expansion. They add these weather scenarios and tribes. They add so much to the game. And there's 19 different characters you can play as that all have their own decks. Generally about 30 cards. There are some exceptions to that rule. I forget if it's the thief. I forget which one it is, but there's one that has more. Long story short, it is a game that has scenarios for it. You're gonna be able to play through. I would argue it's one I've also just jumped into a scenario and played and had a good time because you never know how the board's gonna end up outside of the certain cards that might be there, because you do have certain setup rules, but it's a randomized board. What is also really cool about this is when they came out with the expansion for the game, it was a standalone, but they worked that system back into the main game. So they also reworked all the scenarios from the first time around so you could play with the new stuff.
Oh, cool.
Which I'm going to be honest, I don't see happening all the time. A lot of times they don't go back to that level of detail. So
right.
I truly appreciate what Rock Manor did with that. Maximum Apocalypse, though, Survivor in a Holocaust situation, the Holocaust situation. Oh my God, that's awful. Apocalypse situation. And it's a hostile scenario, hostile landscape, right? And all these different things you're gonna deal with, zombies, aliens, you name it. It's bad. So bad things. You got to get to the van in the first mission, I will tell you. You got to get to the van.
Did you get to the van?
But that's your learning mission. Get to the van. So that's it.
Oh, I see the van. It's right. Hang on.
Yeah.
It's over here.
The van is part of it's always there. Don't get me wrong. But yeah. Yeah, the van is used for different things throughout. The van's not always the main goal. Sometimes you just use the van to escape. But yeah, long story short, great game. Pick up, deliver things at times. You've got a hand of cards, modular boards. Great time with this game. Great co-op experience. I like it with 2 to 3, no more. Because again, I do like to get to. I'm laughing at. Living
in a van down by the river.
Oh man, yeah. So yeah, but post-apocalyptic. So and then again, there's expansion Wasted Wilds, which adds some different stuff. But try out Maximum Apocalypse with the main thing, and then if you like that stuff, the base game itself has plenty of gameplay, and all that stuff for the most part is pretty much still available on Rock Manor Games.
Yeah, we're overdue on this one, you and I.
Yeah, Yeah, we've talked about this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I should try it out.
yes, you should. And I'd recommend people check this out. rockbannergames.com, I know, has it. They've put out plenty of good stuff. But I think they're underrated in a lot of stuff that they produce, quite frankly. But this is my favorite of all of their games.
All right. Maximum Apocalypse.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's pretty epic. I'll tell you what else is epic. We are in our top fives now. So we revealed your number 3 already, but we're entering the top fives. So I'm pretty excited to get to the real nitty gritties now. Are you ready? You strapped in? All right. I mentioned earlier in the stream that I would be mentioning a much older game than Pandemic. Well, Pandemic's not really an old game. Okay, just just saying, much older than Pandemic. A cooperative board game. Now, this one involves a lot of reading, involves a lot of sleuthing, deducting, reading newspapers, going through a map, going through a phone book, and figuring out if you can beat Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective. So this game came out in 1982, and this game is epic. Okay, it's got 10 cases for you to solve in this game. I've so far have been through 9 of them. Got one left. One left. And then I'm moving on to the next box. And in this game, you could play solo. You could play up to 8 people. But in reality, I think 2 is the sweet spot for this one. What you're going to be doing is going through all sorts of locations. You'll be trying to figure out a murder. And when you feel like you're good enough and figured out everything about this case, you'll be brought to a list of questions you'll need to answer. There's also some side things that you might be able to answer to for bonus points. And then you will hear Sherlock's very perfect run, because every time, because the thing is, you're all like Sherlock's, like, I guess, other smaller detectives, like the junior crew, whatever.
So you're a lot of mini Watsons?
Yeah, but you're not even Watson. You're like under Watson. And then while you're doing this, Sherlock is already just like, he knows exactly where to go. He knows exactly what to do and always gets a perfect score of 100. And your goal is to beat that score. I think I've only beat that score once, but it was really impossible. You're not going to beat Sherlock. Or no, I think I got like 80 or something. So it's incredible. And what's great about this game is there's 10 cases and there's 11 newspapers in this game. And the newspapers are, you want to make sure you're reading yesterday's newspapers or like last week's newspaper, right? But the cases as they go on, they're all chronological. So every case you work on, the number of newspapers increases because the previous cases newspapers may still be relevant to what future cases there are. And then so it's really fascinating. And then you also have like this directory of all these different people. You can look up like where maybe where they work, their home address. And then you could just find where it is in the book, and you'll see like, okay, they're at 18 SE, so I will go there. And then sometimes the map is relevant because it's like, okay, well, he left this building over here at 18 SE. So where would he have gone? With S8 SE being like southeast. So where would he have gone? Well, there are buildings nearby. Yeah, this is a phenomenal board game that everyone should try if they like that sort of thing, like the mystery kind of thing. Barros, was it last week that you, Anthony, and I played Detective City of Angels?
Yes, we did.
This is very similar in vein to that style game, like a Chronicles of Crime, right? But this is the 1982 one, and it still does a great job. I know there's a Jack the Ripper box where 4 or 5 of the cases, because by the way, these cases are all standalones, but then the Jack the Ripper box, I think there's like 4 or 5 of them that intertwine to each other with like whole Jack the Ripper stuff. Um, then there's a blue box, which I think is like Carlton something, and then the most recent one I have over there, the green one, the Baker Street. No, is it Basker Street? It's got to be Basker Street. I don't know. Baker Street irregulars, Basker Street irregulars. Oh, good to know. And likely the Jack the Ripper one is not kid friendly. um, but there's one that came out in 2020 where it's a brand new one because all the ones I mentioned before are all older, and they've also all been translated into English. And I know
Oh.
in particular the blue box has a lot of errata to the point that I really have no interest in trying that one out. But the green one is like a brand new game.
What it got mentioned earlier that Joseph mentioning that number 4 is their favorite. So
Oh, wait, number 4. Their number 4 is my number 5.
I think
Case number 4.
Case number 4.
Oh yeah, case number 4 is also my favorite too. Yes. Case number 4 is also my favorite too. So I'll tell you this, right? I played it the first case solo. Then I played the second case with my mom. The third case with my wife, and then the fourth case. No, third case was solo. I think my wife has played this yet. Fourth case, I played with my coworker, and he was we both got super into it in that fourth one, right? And we worked like in an office building, but during lunch breaks we'd go to like the conference room and just like sign it out and just like have like the big screen up top with like writing down notes, and like even like after work with them and spend like a half hour or so just doing that up. And then I remember during case 4 in particular, we're walking to the subway and just talking to each other about the case, and then we're like, wait a minute. And then it just hit us. So we walked back to the office, unlocked the elevator to go to our floor, and just finish out that case. And that's the case that we did really well in.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, this game is phenomenal. I don't want to give any spoilers at all. What I liked in particular about number 4, but number 4 for sure I think was my favorite. And yeah, I do want to do the green box as well too. Wait, hang on. By number 4, Joseph, do you mean number 4 being the fourth box in the series, or do you mean case number 4? Because I was meaning case number 4, but box number 4 is the green box too. So
by the way, we've got Michael pointing out that it's a good sign if you want to head back to work to finish it.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. So we have one case left. So the last couple of cases that we did during COVID, like we like hop on Slack and just do it. But now this last case, we're gonna do in person. So perfect. Yeah. All right.
You got an offer, by the way, from Eddie here.
Yeah, I'd be down to play it. Just let me know. I would need to know what case to catch up to. Because the thing, you have to play them in sequential order because future newspapers might have spoilers of previous cases.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a phenomenal game though. And that's the great thing about this game too is just like a good book, right? When you're done, you just pass it along to someone.
Yep.
So, that's my number 5, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and I cannot believe there are 4 other ones that I can blather on so much about.
So before we go on to our list, I wanted to bring up Eddie's talk about favorites in his household. We got Paleo, Keep the Heroes Out, Kids Love, Chronicles of Crime, Mystery and Park, and Most Exit Game. I love Flu, Death May Die, Unsettled Infiltrators, and Return to Dark Tower.
Really want to play Cthulhu Death May Die. And Eddie, are you getting the Dark Providence game from Simon? Because I'm really tempted to get that one. And that's like a reprint of A Study in Emerald, which I love, but it's set in the Cthulhu Death May Die world. And yeah, nerd shelves, blue box just means recycling. So for sure. That's why I haven't bought it yet. I definitely didn't buy it yet. Just got the red and green. Yeah. Okay, well, one of us will get Dark Providence. Don't worry.
Well, perhaps just one of you can get.
Oh,
Sorry,
geez. Is that your
out of
number
it.
5?
That's my number 5. Yeah, I wanted to. Uh, I was thinking about this with co-ops, and I realized that obviously co-ops play very well into the party genre, right? And
Mhm.
there is nothing quite like some of the ridiculous bits of laughter that I have seen in a game of just one. And I mean that online, I mean that in person. It hasn't mattered. So just one came to the table because for me, it's just always a good time. And I always say it's like you're really just trying to get the best score anyways. It's like, can we get 13? Right? But it doesn't matter. Like, let's do it again. Seems to be the response after one play
Yeah.
of this game. And even though I love games like So Clover, you'll hear me talk about So Clover and a few other games. This is king in that world for me.
Mhm.
This is the king, this is the queen, this is the ruler, because quite frankly it just does it so well. And the idea with this game that you've got a clue that you've got to give to the guesser, but they can't be the same word, because if they're the same word, what's going to happen is it's not going to be shown to them.
Right.
And so the co-op nature of this is I always thought really good for getting to know people, because you start to learn a little bit how they think. It's generally a fun experience anytime I've done it. It doesn't matter if they've played the game before or not. And as a co-op experience, you're starting to think, okay, I know how you think. I get a sense of this. I better not write this word because you're going to immediately think that. So if a word was shield, as an example, or captain was the phrase, right?
Or
Someone might
chocolate.
give me the word shield,
Yeah.
right? But you've got to think about the fact that, yeah, he'd get that, but who else is going to put that?
Yeah.
And so I like that kind of concept that's happening in the game. So I just really love this one. It always jumps to the top when I think of a good co-op game that has a party vibe. So for me, it's probably, yeah, it's the only party game on this list. So um, for me, big one, important game. I think it just does it so well, and it stands on its own for me. So that's just one.
Just one. Great pick.
By the
Uh,
way, you know what? I For our list, we didn't count the semi co-ops, but that's subject to your list. So would love to know what your favorite co-op is, because I will say when you talk about co-op, I have great co-op experiences with a ton of games
mhm.
that are semi cooperative, that great memories have come from, even Betrayal. I Quite frankly, Betrayal Legacy is a game that some of the best moments in that game for me, in a game that is still ongoing, have been when there's been a team up. Either
Mhm.
in one case it was against me and it did not work, by the way.
Yep.
But that's probably what made it even better. But there's great co-op moments in those games. So I think it's fair game, depending on how you want to look at it.
I
For
mean,
this list,
my first hobby game in 2005 was Fury of Dracula, and that's a 1v all. You know,
yes.
that's very semi co-op because everyone else is co-op, and one player's is Dracula.
And you could argue it's a
Yeah,
co-op experience for 4 players.
yeah, of course.
So
You know, you
there
have
you
one
go.
player as essentially the DM.
There you go.
All right, but my number 4 doesn't require a DM. It's a full co-op experience. Um, this is my highest rated dice chucking experience on this list. It is a cooperative board game with such a cool look. Where when it was pitched, because of my love of Ghostbusters, it was pitched as this could be the Ghostbusters board game. It was not, but I still thoroughly enjoy Vagrant Song. Is my number 4 pick. Yeah. Good guess. Good guess, Eddie. In Vagrant Song, you'll be playing as a vagrant up on a train, trying to go up against different haints, and you're trying to restore their humanity by busting them. Which you could just be doing different abilities to do that. to regain their humanity by singing to them, or just straight up just punching them in the face. You'll be doing all sorts of things. But what I love about this game so much, other than how unique looking it is and how great those painted acrylic standees look, because for real, why use miniatures when we can have painted acrylic standees? My favorite thing about this is the level design and the boss design. Like every single, the rules are very straightforward in Vagrant Song. The uniqueness comes with the scenario design and how that particular scenario is going to flip the script, how it's going to play with those components that you'll be uncovering and change the rule completely. So you need to think about what's the most optimal way for using this simple rule set up against whatever baddie you're up against. Um, it's a fantastic co-op experience. While I did enjoy it solo, um, playing co-op with other players is definitely where it's at. I am eager to getting back to our campaign of this. We have so
Yes.
much Vagrant Song to get to. We have so much Vagrant Song incoming at
We
some
have more
point.
Vagrant Song on the way.
So,
By the way, before I say anything, I do want to point out, I brought this up a moment ago, but he
he
guessed
did
it.
he did guess it. Yes.
He guessed it. I agree with you very much. I
Mm.
think you need to go to the list,
Uh-oh.
and you might need to click number 1.
Wow.
I love Vagrant Song.
Oh my
I
goodness.
Let me put it this way. I did not have a great experience with Battlers as a whole for a very long time, or that games that were like this, especially if a campaign format. Then I played Vagrant Song.
Mhm.
The co-op mechanisms that are very well done, and to your point, every boss feels different and unique. It does a really clean and efficient camping phase
Mhm.
that I
Yeah,
thought was
between the
really,
games. Yeah.
yeah, and that to the point that, hey, who can use this better? Okay, cool. Can I get that? Great. And you don't get a lot of this king making of in the sense of who's in charge, or say that's not really king making, but you don't get anyone kind of dictating things because
Quarterbacking.
yeah, quarterbacking, that's it. You can't really do that because even in, especially, it's not really possible in the game, and any time I've played it, um, just because of decisions you'd have to make, right? But also, then you get to the camp phase, and you have a limited amount of space for the junk, right? And the junk cards, which are really powerful, quite frankly, you only have so much space, so you got to make a choice about what you're going to get rid of, keep, who's going to get what, and it's all very smooth. And the design, like you mentioned, of the bosses, fantastic. And it's all done on the same board, which is 3 train cards.
Yep.
3 train cards. That's to me what does it for me.
Bendy
It,
checkerboard train cars.
yeah. And the design I think it's important to point out the design of the actual characters themselves that you're playing, the heroes in this, the vagrants, they're all really unique.
Mhm.
And yes, it'd be awesome to have 4 of them because of their powers, but I found at 2 or 3 players, it was a nice number.
Yep.
You could do a lot with it. But they also know the characters well enough in terms of design that even with the expansion, they didn't add more characters. They felt it's very clear to me that, hey, we have the right 6 characters for this. We're going to give you more of that gameplay of who are you going to go against, some other fun things that a campaign added. So I like the fact that we've got these 6 characters that all play unique enough, but they're going to evolve throughout play, that your play is going to be different from maybe the first time you did to the second time with the expansion that can potentially up the difficulty.
Yeah.
So a ton of replayability here, even though you're playing through a scenario, it looks like.
Yeah,
But
and
I
even if
can't.
you know what's gonna happen in the scenario, you could still play the same scenario
Oh
and still
yeah,
have a good time.
I agree. But they definitely thought about that with the expansion. We have not played it, so I can't talk to it, right? But when it comes down to it, they thought about that with the expansion as well to add more replayability. So yeah, this is a win for me. It's my number 1 for a reason. It just screamed to me when the first time I played it, and I'm gonna, in the long run, it falls on that rare list of one that we're both going to own everything for,
Yeah.
which tells you it's good, because we're talking about this on Discord today. I normally don't buy things if you're getting them or vice versa.
Yeah.
Normally that's not something I'm doing. So
I will
if
also
I am,
mention the rule book is terrible. Not terrible. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But there is an updated rule book, I believe, with the
yes,
expansion or like the latest Kickstarter. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing that and recommending people that. But also, you could check out our series where we did 3 scenarios, I believe.
I think we
On
played 3 or 4
I think we played
live.
3
Yeah.
live, and we also did a teach through. So
Yep.
that was Vagrant Song.
Before we go to yours, by the way, Nurchel's mentioning Dead of Winter, and
Mm,
this is one I really did enjoy a lot. Again, yes, there's a potential of a secret betrayer, but I did like Dead of Winter a lot. I feel like it was one of those games that did the whole zombie apocalypse thing really, really well.
hmm
And if anyone says to me, "Hey, want to play Dead of Winter?" I would still probably jump into a game of it, even though it's one that I don't own anymore. It's one that I'm happy to play. The drunken Santa's a hilarious character in
Yeah.
that. I will say they've
Yeah,
got
the
some funny characters in that.
with Dead of Winter, I'll tell you my Dead of Winter story, and then I'm gonna jump into my number 3. My Dead of Winter story. So, my brother, right? He got it for me for my birthday, but usually I'm the guy that teaches the board games to my brother and brings them into whatever board games, right? So he made a point where he bought it months before my birthday and opened it up, learned it, and played with his friends so he could be ready to teach me. What he didn't know is that I had already played it, so I didn't need him to teach me. But he made it a point to really learn it, and he loved the game so much that he ended up keeping the copy he got me for my birthday and buying a second copy to give to me. So, yeah, he,
Well,
he
that's funny.
really enjoyed that game.
It's a great game.
Yeah,
It is a great game. I believe my copy is at the local library these days. So
there you go. Actually, do you want to go to your number 4, or should I just go in my number 3 and then to your number 4?
no, I'll go to my number 4. It probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
My number 4 is one. If you've been watching the channel recently, you will have seen. It is one that puts 2 players. It technically can be more than 2, but I think it's best at 2. You are 2 players who are moving in to your house, and you maybe don't agree on the decorum of said house, because my number 4 is decorum, and it is a really enjoyable game that does not. I feel like this doesn't sound like fun to everyone, about the idea of like you're gonna come into this game and you're gonna disagree from the beginning on some things, because by default you're given goals for the house. It might
Mhm.
be the color of the room, it might be you have a certain type of decor in uh in one room and the other person doesn't like that. There's a lot of things you may not like about what people are doing, but it's a puzzle. It is a puzzle that you get to do with one other person, or up to 4 technically, if you would like. And I have really enjoyed this one. We played this on the channel. I had played it before. We've got the expansion that we're going to be playing on the channel, which I'm excited about,
Next week.
where we're moving out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's next week, right? So we're moving out in that one. But yeah, it's one that as you play through, you will unlock some new things. By the way, I will not spoil them, but it is definitely a. There's some passive aggressiveness happening in this one. It's a good time, and you're gonna be in this game. Just a good example would be, maybe I chose to paint the kitchen red, and
Mhm.
Ryan's response, because he doesn't like it, might be like, "I don't like that. I hate
Yep.
that." It is very
You you
y-
play you play on it. You definitely play on it.
yeah, you have some fun with it.
Like you really had to
Um,
go with red?
yeah, By the way, yes, it is true. He has my copy right now. In fact, it's I'm glad that he's had a chance to play it. It is one though that, like you said, you're gonna solve these puzzles over time, right? And I have not, there have been failures, but the first few ones will really walk you in. They're not overly complicated, uh, but they do a nice thing that I thought was impressive, which is the way that they counterbalance the game when you don't have enough for when you don't have before players in the campaign. It balances really well that you've got this other card that's going to help you figure out for for one other challenge. So it ups the difficulty as you get higher up in the game, and more stuff will get added, folks. That's the biggest thing I tell you. More stuff gets added. So by the time you get to scenario 20, I think it is, like you've been through a lot. There's also an app as well. So you've got more randomization. I highly recommend people check this out. It's a ton of fun. My son and I have played through most of the campaign at this point. So it's been a very good kind of bonding experience for us, though. My wife will say, "Why are you yelling at each other?" We're like, we're fine. We're just we're just trying to get the house ready.
Yeah.
And she's done the math. We're playing decorum when she hears us at the tables frustrated with each other in all the best of ways, because when we win at the end, oh, it's a celebration.
I love how unique this game is. That is like the real selling point for me. I still like I do enjoy Decorum. It didn't make my list, but I still do enjoy this game a lot. I like the two-player deduction tied. It definitely the theme gets across so well in this game.
Yes.
It kind of encourages you to play that passive aggression out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a great time playing this one.
You're not going to be, no one's going to be, I don't feel like anyone really leaves the game. You're not truly angry. Like, I'm joking
No,
about
you're
that.
playing as if you have that anger,
Right. That's what
that
I want to
chip
make
on your
really
shoulder.
clear. Like, you're playing like, oh my God, why did you pick red? But
Yeah,
no one's really that ticked off about
yeah,
it. But it is, there are great moments where your stipulations, because you're going to have 4 or 5 things you have to get done in the house. And you may
yeah,
have, just as an example, like all the rooms be painted one color.
yeah,
And then you're almost there, and then someone paints a room a different color because they have to match up the lamp in the room with the color on the wall. And it just so happens
yeah.
it you start doing the math. Oh, can we point out, by the way, we didn't point out one thing, and we do have a teach on this and a game of this, but you also have um house meetings or heart to hearts based on
In the
the number of players.
3 and 4 player game. Yeah,
Yeah, so you're going to be able to give each other clues
right.
in this game. So it's not like you're going with no information. You're going to be able to
Yeah,
give information, but you get little bits of information at a time.
yeah. The heart to hearts right is 2 player, and then the
Heart to
house
heart is
meetings are 3
2-player.
to 4.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I don't see a lot of 3 players online. So when we played, we had done a 3-player, though, just so people know, the expansion, I believe, is only
2 player
2-player. If I
only.
thought
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
and both copies were review copies sent to us by the publisher.
Yes, that's correct. The copy that Chewy Huey's talking about is my copy that he's been playing. We've been actually playing the review copy.
Oh, he's got your nice copy.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's got my my spruced up one.
Cool. At least you have one game left on your list, man.
Yeah. Well, we had
So-
2 crossover.
We had 2 crossovers. Could this be another one? Could this be? No, it's not. Actually, I can tell you right now, all 3 of these are not crossovers with you. But my number 3, I played with you a game in its series last week. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So this game is currently a trilogy. As of next week, the trilogy will be, finally available on Kickstarter, I believe. And that is Burgle Bros.
Yep.
So let me pull that up. Boom, boom, boom.
I didn't think it was a coin game. So it was either a coin game.
Oh yeah, no, no, not a coin game.
Yeah,
Uh,
that one's a
so
checked out.
so Burgle Bros, the original Burgle Bros, designed by Tim Fowers, came out in 2015. Fowers Games is effectively Ocean's 11, the board game. You and other players at the board are going to be infiltrating an office building to uncover three different safes on each floor and then make it out through the helicopter on the rooftop. You need to do this before the guards catch on to you. And those guards are going to be moving out throughout this labyrinth of an office building. And if they walk through you, you have to give them a stealth token. Very similar to the classic Nickelodeon game show, Legends of the Hidden Temple. When a temple guard grabs you, you better have a medallion. In this case, you want to make sure you have a stealth token. If you have no stealth tokens to give, game over. You just got caught. The whole thing's busted, and that's it. Um, as you explore the office building, you'll be going from room to room in a randomized tile set and you might be running into all sorts of hazards. You might be running into a trap. You may be running into something good. You might find like some tools that can help you out. You may even find the safe, which is awesome, unless you haven't uncovered all of the tiles in the same row and column as that safe, because those have the combination code you need to unlock the safe in. uh, so every player has different asymmetric power, but you're largely going to be doing the same thing, which is try to get that safe, try to do your best to uncover it and get the loot out of it, and also try not to get caught. Best case scenario in this game always is to split across the multiple floors. Um, so you split up as much as you can to kind of make sure the guard doesn't go too crazy, because it's designed as if it were a heist movie. So the guard is only active on the active player's turn, because that's what's currently in the view of the movie watching audience. And this 3D tower does not come with the game. This was a printed tower I put together to play it in its full
I love
fashion.
I love that you always have to point that out because it is such a draw
I don't
when I
want
see
people to feel like they buy this game and like, hey, where's my tower?
right. I know.
It
No,
doesn't come with a tower. Normally, you'd play on a thing, but the thing is, you want to play at this tower because it makes sense. I mean, you want. I love playing with a tower because the stair tile uh, works directly with the tile directly above it. And some tiles do that. Like there's an atrium tile where if the guard's on top of it, he can look up above and down below where he is to see you. Or the walkway tile where when you flip it, if you walked into it and flipped it, you fall right down. You just fall right down on your face.
oh, it's great.
Yeah, there's so many great things in this game. Highly recommend it. If this sounds like something up your alley, it probably is. I'm not going to lie. It is very difficult to win a game of Burgle Bros. The lower player counts you have, the better. But I still think 3 to 4 players is actually my preferred way, because I like the losing, to be honest, in this game. I like the tension that's constantly there, and it does it at such a great pace. That's where I am with Burgle Bros. Now, you may be asking, what about Burgle Bros 2, the Casino Capers? Glad you asked. So, Burgle Bros 2, the Casino Capers, is just as good as Burgle Bros 1. I don't think it's necessarily better. It feels just like a variant on the original Burgle Bros. Because in Burgle Bros 2, the Casino Capers, instead of 3 floors, it's 2 floors. And anytime you walk into a different tile, there could also be a patron in the casino, and it could be someone like the drunk or some other crazy randomness in there. And yes, I agree with you, Nerd Shelves. If it's easy to win the co-op, there's no point in playing it. Well, to the most part, I agree with you with that. Sometimes it's fun to play, like like a kid's game. It's fun. But going back to this, right? Casino capers, you run into different tiles, and you could also be running into different patrons at the casino that do special abilities. Like I think the drunk just like takes you away to the next tile, like he drags you along. Hey, and then what's cool about part two is it introduces the finales. So when you're doing the heist, at the end of the heist, a specific finale may come out. And it's very like movie esque casino debauchery kind of thing. Like one of them, you have to make it out with like a Bengal tiger. You got you got to like walk out of the casino with the tiger. Uh, so I think that's a pretty fascinating thing. And instead of doing the helicopter, you walk out of the you walk out of the
So
entrance that you came into.
it's a game changing element.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, um, but again, the rule set is very much in the same Burgle Bros theme. Now, I know what you're thinking. Again, you just talked about Burgle Bros 3. That's correct. We did play it last week. It's not
Yep.
done yet. I know there's still some tweaks that Tim is going to be putting in. Um,
Yep.
but and I believe that one's actually co-designed with Sky. I could be wrong. Um, but I either way, Burgle Bros 3 Future Flip is basically feels just like how Bros 2 was, which is it feels like a variant on the original Burgle Bros. So right now, I did enjoy my play. Of the three, it's the most advanced version because what's
Yes.
going to happen is everything that future flip is implying everything about flipping cards and your character card you could say in your disguised side, and then once you flip into your I have more abilities, but now I'm much more of a target. You'll have that side out, and you'll have more, like you're like hidden, and then you could do 3 actions, or you're surprised, and now you can start to do 4 actions, and you'll be interacting with people on the board, similar to the Casino Capers one. Um, there are no finales yet in this one. I don't know if they're going to be including it in Burgle Bros 3. Well, again, we'll see what the final product is going to be like. But the other thing too is the tiles actually don't start out on the board. You're just going to be drawing them, blind bagging them from. I'm guessing it's going to be a bag. Um, a double-sided room tile. So you'll be taking out the double-sided room tile and placing it down, and it'll tell you, dependent on what floor you're on, or if that room tile already exists, or what state you are in, what side to have flipped. So I thought that was a pretty cool concept, because one of the things about Burgle Bros is the setup of Burgle Bros. You know, so you need to make sure that the tiles you're putting down for floor one are the floor one tiles, and the tiles putting down floor two are the floor two tiles, and the floor three tiles are the floor three tiles. This one, you're just drawing. So you draw it, and it might say, are you on floor, use this side of floor one, use this side of floor two. You
Yeah.
know? So
It was definitely there was definitely a lot of strategy to that one and deciding where to go, and especially with what tiles came out, certain rooms could get locked down. It was kind of cool, and there was a puzzle atmosphere to it, which I had a good time playing it. We'll certainly probably talk more about it on the end of the month call aboard, as I think about my playthrough of it. But again, not the final. I know it was not the final version. There was still things happening, but I know people are excited about that one, so we wanted to make sure we mention
yeah,
that one for sure.
and I enjoy both Burgle Bros 1 and Burgle Bros 2. I did enjoy my play of Burgle Bros 3. Um, I do want to play it again some more. I have a feeling it's going to be the one that I'm going to want to play solo in the heavier sense, and then play Burgle Bros 1 and 2 more so on the multiplayer side of things.
Yeah,
So, but that
but
was Burgle Bros.
yeah,
1, 2,
Burgle
and 3.
Bros at your number 3, right?
Burgle Bros at my number 3. You still haven't played Burgle Bros 1.
I played like I was at a con. I got to like I didn't truly like get to play, but I was like watching, so I got the gameplay of the base. That's why I had enough of a sense to even play the third one, because I had enough sense of basic mechanics. But I was definitely learning throughout.
Mhm.
Though I think I held my own in our game. I think I was minus the
Oh no, you did great in
I
Burgle Bros 3.
we
Yeah.
just had a very unfortunate end to our game, which I'll talk more about probably
Oh, I
at the end
I
of the
should
month.
highlight, by the way, Burglar Bros 1 and 2 use dice for cracking the safe. Burglar
Yep.
Bros 3 does not use dice. You actually collect a different set of cards, and you're
Yep.
trying to combine different colors to satisfy what that particular safe's need
The co-op
is.
nature of it was really cool in that, though. That's the one thing I want to point out. Like, I thought the co-op nature of being able to trying to get people the stuff they need so we could get stuff out of the safes. I thought
And
that
it's
was really
all
cool.
like futuristic, so you're hacking the ice. You're hacking ice,
Yep.
so it's like Netrunner terms, right? So I think it's pretty cool. They did a really good job with like incorporating that for the theme.
Do you want to do your number 2, by the way, or do you want me to
I'll
wrap
do
up
it.
mine?
I'll do it. I'll do it. I mean,
Do your
you
number
wrap up,
2.
then I wrap up.
Sounds good to me.
All right. My number 2 is a game that you've never played. However, it's a game that's so good. It's not just on my list. It's on Anthony's list, and it's on Eric's list. And that, of course, is Spirit Island, designed by R. Eric Royce.
I technically did play it once for the record.
Didn't count. It's on your list. You definitely got to play it again until it's on your list. You're playing until it's on your top 10 list.
All right.
That's the rule. End of story. Okay. Spirit Island it is a phenomenal game. But when it came out, man, like we're talking, the pitch of it was great. It's a co-op anti-colonialism game. There's so many colonialism board games, right? Settlers of
Mhm.
Catan is all about colonialism. Um, in this game, you are a spirit on the island, and you're going to be, like Ocean's hungry grass. You have all these different names. Oh, there you go. Hey, Sky. Yeah. And again, Barrows are going to play until it's in your top 10. Um, you're going to be all different kinds of spirits protecting the Dahan, the people on the island, and protecting your island in general from the invaders, which are all these little plastic white pieces that are being added to your board. And I just love that. Just love that, right? And these invaders are going to be building towns and building cities and causing blight to your land and killing the Dahan that are already there. They're going to be coming out from the ocean. They're going to be coming out from the established towns and cities that are on the board, and they are going to just wreak havoc. And it is up to you to do as much to scare them off your island. How cool is that? Like, it's so good.
I
And
love the theme of this one, and that's why it initially grabbed my attention. And I
mhm,
owned like the base game. Then I found out you owned like everything, so I was like,
everything.
okay, I'll play this at some point. But from I think I mind you, my only play of it was solo. I didn't do the cooperative. I never did a full actual co-op game, so I've never had a co-op experience with this. So by that
We're in. We're
definition,
in.
you're right.
So this game, you get to pick one of the different spirits you want to be, and they're all totally asynchronous. Like um, there's a lot of different abilities, a lot of different strengths and weaknesses that a particular spirit can do. And what's great is on the back of the thing, it'll tell you what the complexity level is for that spirit and what they're mostly focused in, so you can kind of figure it out. Like, oh, this guy's mostly into fear. Like this spirit will give mostly fear, but not so much in defense. Like, oh, well, this guy's really good in defense. So there you go. There's our combo that we can go with. Um, Not only that, in the base game alone, there is so much variability. There's so much variety in this particular game because you can change out the difficulty level so easily. There's a set of cards you can apply to change difficulty level. You can add different abilities to the invaders that changes the difficulties, and it'll show you that. And not only that, the spirits you pick, the difficulty level there could be determined by it. So again, you have all of these tools that you could play a difficult game. You could play a difficult spirit if you're an experienced player. With a new player, you just give them one of the easier ones and kind of walk them
Yeah,
through.
I'm gonna start if I play a game with you with an easier spirit to use than you, who's gonna take a more challenging one because you're more experienced with the game. And I do like that aspect. And I also think with this one, just from the brief time that I did own it, I will say visually, I think everything, all the components work so well with this. Like
Yeah.
it's it I totally understand why people like this game from afar. I'll not saying it won't be my top 10, but I'm not going to promise it. But it's one that I need to do the true co-op experience with this. And yeah, I'm much like the nerd shells here. Want to play this one, and I do. But I want to do the co-op because again, I did solo. But also, in all fairness, I wasn't into solo as much at the time when I owned this. So I wonder what it would have been like if my first experience with Spirit Island was now.
So the
Truthfully,
solo game, you control one spirit on one piece of island. I actually prefer when playing solo. No, don't do this in your first solo game. But if you're comfortable enough with the system, play two-handed spirit is my go-to, because you get that there's some cards that will affect you, will affect all spirits, will affect other spirits. And what's cool too when you decide what cards to play, some cards will trigger before the enemies activate, and some will trigger after the enemies activate. But at the start of your turn, you have to decide which cards you actually want to play. Because the colonists on the board, right? They all kind of do the same thing, you know, where if there's a colonist on the board and there's no town in its spot, it's going to be adding a town. And then if there's already a town on the spot, it's going to be adding a city, you know. So it's really interesting just seeing that paradigm, and also the like knowing how like the combat works is so easy because there's a lot of visual indicators to help you out. Cities do 3 damage and have 3 health. Towns do 2 damage and have 2 health, and the people do 1 damage and have 1 health. And that's easily represented because the cities have 3 buildings in it, the towns have 2 buildings in it, and the people only have 1 person in it. You know, uh, yeah, the you have agreed. Two-handed, you have to play because that cooperation is huge. And what's great too is it reduces the amount of quarterbacking in this game when you do play a co-op because of how large the board can be. Every time you added a new player, you added a new segment of island, and effectively that player is really going to be focusing on that particular island. Obviously, there's some spirits that will be spreading across the whole board. There's some spirits that play with the ocean. That one's hilarious because that one you lure colonists out into the ocean and just drown them. Sorry, hilarity because they're evil people. So you know, but going back to this game, it's got so much going for it. There's so much. There's a lot of variety in that single base box alone. Eddie brought up Horizons of Spirit Island, which was the target game that
didn't you get a copy of that one
we do have a
too?
copy of that.
That's what I thought.
Um,
I thought we did.
so it has additional spirits not in the base game, but the game is largely the same. It's not so much that it's a streamlined version of the game; it's just that the spirits are very streamlined, and very straightforward. Uh, I do recommend seeking this out if it's something that you're interested in, and that
Okay.
is Spirit Island. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal game.
So it's interesting. You talk about the two-handed solo play. The game that I have at my number two is one that when I do play it solo, I do play two-handed.
Mm.
Uh, it is one, however, that I prefer with two players. I like it as two players. I will play with three players, but it gets a little, especially if you have someone who's not a quick decision maker, isn't ready for their term. It gets a little too long. But at two players, I really enjoy Marvel Champions.
Mm.
And my best plays of Marvel Champions have been two players, very often with my son, quite frankly. And we have a great time. My son is very much sticking with some of the same characters, partially because when he first started playing, he didn't actually like really read. So he just learned what all the Spider-Man cards did and memorized it, which to me to this day impresses me. So he played with Spider-Man a lot, and that was the reason. He knew it. Now he could play, and he does from time to time with other people. But Marvel Champions, as a two-player game, as a Marvel fan, it is my favorite Marvel IP game for one, and so that helps. It hits the table, and I love the fact that in this game we can, well, I can create my own decks. I can use the base decks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can create interesting stories and certainly it's not like Arkham Horror, which you talked about, right? Where the stories are built in. It's you're kind of create for me, I'm trying to create them. It's like, okay, we're gonna be Spider-Man and Captain America against Doc Ock. Okay, that's cool. Or whoever I might be, going up against. And so I enjoy that part of it. It's a little easier to pick up and teach people. It's its rules are getting a little more out there just because it's gone through so many iterations now.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have to get up to date on the rules from time to time, right? But I think it's a game that if you are into the IP, it's going to automatically interest you. But they've also picked the right cast of characters, especially as they've gone on. Like, even if you think about the character choices they've made later on versus the beginning, like, I don't love the Hulk's, didn't love the Hulk's overall design as a character, but they didn't repeat the same mistakes. And later it came out with characters who I thought did some things that now we're better just because they made a character, as an example, stronger when he gets more damaged, and in a better way, or they changed that effect from what they might have done with the Hulk. So I think they've learned and improved on the
Mm-hmm.
game with every character, with every iteration. My one of my favorites when you and I got our butt kicked by Mojo, because Mojo was just fun to go against.
Wait, it was Kang we played.
No, but we also
We played
went up against
Mojo.
Mojo. We went against
Oh, we
Mojo
did play
too.
Mojo. Yeah, yeah,
And
we did play
Mojo was
Mojo.
wacky, like,
Yeah.
because he'd have the different themes come. So again, they're picking interest. They're making interesting choices with this game. I know recently it was very much like the announcement came out and people are bummed that they weren't getting Beast, but the Magneto character excites me. Who they announced,
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about what they're going to be able to do at Magneto. And Beast was less exciting to me personally, even though I like Beast as a character. So I think they're balancing the act of character with mechanics
Yeah.
better and better and better. And that's important to me. Even though I want a Winter Soldier, I I understand why
I
maybe
wanted
the Winter
Doctor
Soldier
Doom.
wasn't the character they
Right.
picked as the main character. I get it, right?
Yep.
So it's also a world, by the way, that the creator, not the fans of the game have created some unique custom sets,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a whole world that I've barely explored there. Like, someone made all the turtles with this
Yeah.
system, and so there's other opportunities to explore and grow. But yeah, this game, if you want to have a if you want to build some decks and fight some baddies, this one's fun, and it's my number two. Um, Probably would have been my number one 2 years ago.
Mm. This could have been my number 10 2 years ago. Like on that list. It was actually pretty close. I do enjoy Marvel Champions, the card game. Uh, yeah, I just need to play it more. But I still enjoy it. You know,
Yeah, I mean, look,
I'm in
if
that
I didn't
boat where
have
I have
a
the same where I have all of them. I do
yeah,
enjoy playing it enough to keep all of them. I just
you mean to keep buying them repeatedly like we
yeah.
do?
Well, it's also that fear, because like Fantasy Flight doesn't own the Marvel license, they could
Mhm.
that they could that it could fall the way of Star Wars X-Wing. So
Are you really Brian Chandler? Is that is I'm
that's
I'm
true.
I'm suspicious here because Brian Chandler would say that exact thing. Uh, Look, when it comes down to it, I will play this with anyone. I will teach this to people. Um, I always say every 3 to 6 months, I have to reread the rules just because I want to make sure I didn't miss one of the new ones. But
Yeah.
that's fine.
Plus there's
That's
errata, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. There's things
that's
to
how
keep
is
up with.
Arkham Horror the card game too. It's a
Yeah,
living card game. You know.
It is indeed living. But that's my number 2, Marvel Champions.
All right, my number one for a bunch of times. It was my number one of all time. As of recently, it became my number two of all time. However, I still thoroughly enjoy my favorite cooperative board game, Gloomhaven,
Yep.
designed by Isaac Childress. Uh, Gloomhaven's phenomenal. What more can be said about this amazing game that no one else has said? I don't know. I'll try. I'll try. So in Gloomhaven, it's a cooperative, uh, sort of deck building kind of thing. I don't
Kind
know.
of.
Every turn, right? You're going to be deciding what you want to do amongst your team, and you're going to be putting out two cards face down, flip over for initiative with all the bad guys have their own initiative cards too, and then you'll be acting out the top half of one card and the bottom half of the other card. And you're going to be doing that just constantly. And then you'll run out of cards in your discard your hand. You'll need to reshuffle up your discard pile, and those cards will start to deplete. And you need to finish your objective before you lose the game. And I like what I said about Vagrant Song rings true for Gloomhaven. Um, Even though the system, I feel like in Gloomhaven is definitely more complex than Vagrant Song, the level design in Gloomhaven is phenomenal. I would say every scenario, rather every official scenario I've played of Gloomhaven, um, the balance in there is incredible because I've been in so many situations where it really just came down to if I had one more turn, or we just barely made it. We just barely got through that right from the get go in the very first scenario. Um, I feel like it does an incredible job of having that balance for pretty much every scenario I've played. I know there's some scenarios that are super difficult, like the do not open until you're ready to open scenario. um, but I gotta tell you, if you haven't played Gloomhaven and something that sounds like it's exciting to you, where you have this kind of game that's going to be constantly evolving, your characters you'll unlock characters. This is honestly at the closest to like an adventure video game on a table out there.
This
Um,
is a video game in a box, even with my limited plays to me.
it really feels that way because there's things that you unlock, there's achievements, there's all sorts of things like that. Now, if you do like this gameplay and you want to play it solo, I'm going to recommend you do not. I'm going to recommend you go right to Mage Knight to play because there are a lot of similarities between Mage Knight and Gloomhaven. Um, and for multiplayer, I prefer Gloomhaven. For solo, for sure, I prefer Mage Knight. Uh, so that's Gloomhaven. Definitely play it. What's great too is there are no dice for combat. It's this deck of cards that you will be flipping over to add different modifiers to your attacks or whatnot. And what's interesting to note for that is when you are flipping these cards over, that'll add or subtract, but you could also throughout the game level up and upgrade those cards and remove cards and such. So you can make your deck stronger. And then of course the bad guys can add cards in there that will curse you, or you might get blessings where your attack will do 2 times damage. So they do a great job of handling combat in a dice in a card format, and part of it was because of Isaac Troll's disgust for dice combat, or hatred for dice combat. Um, so that's where that card system came out from.
I do enjoy the fact that with this game you've got a hero you're taking through, and at some point they retire, and that's hence the reason you're starting a new character, if I
And
have
it
it
feels,
correct.
and yes, you everyone starts with a quest card, and when you achieve everything on your quest card, you have retired that character, you've unlocked the character associated with that quest card, and then you could get a new, you play as a new character. You could use any other character available, but you're likely going to be like, ooh, I want to do the one I just unlocked, you know?
Yep.
So
No, this was one, had I got it to the table more, probably would be higher on the list, but I do appreciate this one. I think this one obviously, I will say I think it deserved where it was on BGG rankings. I don't say that about a lot of games.
It's
'Cause a
number
lot of,
2 right now. I still think it right. Is it number
yeah,
2?
I believe
Maybe number
so.
3. I still think it deserves it. I know. So let's talk. Yeah, overall number 3 right now. So it's Brass Birmingham, Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and then Gloomhaven. Now, when it comes to Gloomhaven, there's Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. I think that's a fantastic way for new players to jump in. That does a fantastic job of just very streamlined. It really walks you through the first 5 scenarios. It's not as daunting as Gloomhaven. Fantastic job. Frosthaven, haven't played yet.
By
Want
the
to.
way, I want to point out, based on the list and based on the BGG list, Gloomhaven on your list at number 3.
Yes.
Then you've got, and Jaws of a Lion is number 10. Spirit Island is 11. And the reason I put this out is also, if you keep going down, Arkham Horror card game is number 26.
Yeah.
Frosthaven's number 30. One that I wasn't sure, and I wanted to ask you about it just because every time you've brought this game up, and so this, I'm giving you almost a bonus honorable mention to talk about.
Oh. Are you talking about my number 12?
Well, I was just, yeah, I was just wondering, Orleans has a co-op mode, and you've told me all about it, and
Yep.
it seems like that is the best way to play Orleans.
It is.
Was
That's
that considered for this list? And
it
was that
was. It
okay?
was, but I didn't include it because I still enjoy like regular Orleans too,
Okay,
you know. But I did count it, and when comparing it to some other cooperative board games, it came out to number 12. Like
okay,
I felt like I'd rather talk about these other cooperative board games than the Orleans Invasion. I still enjoy Orleans Invasion a lot. But yeah, that almost made the list. Then Adventures of Robin Hood almost made the list, and then Marvel Champions.
yeah. And by the way, Deep Sea, the Crew Deep Sea Mission, which we both had, was number 30, is number 37 on BGG. Marvel Champions is number 41. I mean, so a lot of the games in our top co-op list are sitting here in the top 50
Yeah.
for BGG, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. And Sky, by the
What do
way,
they
pointing
know?
out, he just rewound to catch the Burgle Bros
Oh,
discussion.
cool.
Yeah, no, and I want to point out, obviously, in terms of co-op games, that was a fun experience for me. But I really do love co-op games. I like them a lot. Interesting enough, through this, I've kind of come to the point that I realized, hey, I like co-op games at like probably 2 to 3 in most cases.
Same.
Most co-op games overstay from a time between turns at a certain point. So the 2 to 3 area, really solid for a good co-op game. And I know it was an honorable mention, but that G.I. Joe, the deck builder,
2-player.
2-player,
Yeah.
shines.
I think just one is the exception, right?
Yeah, just one is
like
probably an
one.
exception to that. Just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all ongoing.
Yeah, everything else is low player count. That's a great point. I mean,
Yeah.
the Crew, I think 4 players is pretty solid.
Oh, you
that.
could play the Crew with. I've played the Crew usually with 3, but that was because my player number 4 in my house was not old enough to even, know what a number was. So
Yeah, and honestly,
maybe that'll change.
Gloomhaven, right? In Gloomhaven, I do like a 2 or 3. So
And I like Vagrant Song at 2 or 3.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
again,
it's the low
know.
player counts.
I'm just
That's our
noting
top
with our
10.
list. That's all. But with that note, we'll be back to
zoom out.
we're back to our regular Wednesday time, I believe.
Look how tiny this is.
Yeah. We're gonna return to our regular Wednesday times as much as possible. This a little bit off schedule, so I know some people will be catching it up on a rewatch. But for those folks, please make sure in the comments on the video, drop your favorite cooperative games. And then a friendly reminder that in addition to our upcoming playthrough of Decorum, the expansion,
Moving
I
out.
should say, of Decorum, moving out, we'll be following that one up with our end of month episode of Cola Board, which is always a ton of fun because that's our What's on Your Table edition, where you can call and just tell us about 1 or 2 games you played in the past month. And yeah, got a lot to talk about because I've had a busy month with games. So I'm gonna have to really think about my 2 pretty hard. But other than that, that has been our top 10 cooperative board games, wrapping up series for this year. And maybe we'll come back in 2 years and do it again. But always a good time to talk about this topic. I just think it's a lot of fun.
And I like co-oping with you.
Yes.
I like co-oping with you, Barrows.
But I appreciate it. If you appreciate that, co-oping is fun.
I'm pouring my soul to you and you just push it away. That's
No.
fine. I'm going to cue the music now. Just because you did.
Have a good night, everybody. See you next week.
Hey, everyone.